Impossible China. Wonders forged by nature and human courage. Below -50 degrees, China's northernmost permanent settlement keeps functioning. Across 30 places, the toughest solutions expose what engineering and endurance still cannot control. Survival across China's hardest terrain depends less on defeating the land than on reading it correctly. Rock walls restrict towns to strips of concrete. Thin air weakens workers and engines. Ice, floodwater, and shifting slopes can close a road faster than crews can reopen it. Yet houses rise, temples endure, dams hold rivers, and trade keeps moving. I want to understand the line between human courage and human overreach. In this film, we examine how people build, travel, worship, and hold communities together where nature always keeps the final leverage. One road links China's humid eastern edge to the Himalayan frontier, then asks freight traffic to survive gorges, ice, and moving slopes. National Highway 318 runs roughly 5,500 kilometers from Shanghai toward Jiangmu. Its defining mountain section links Chengdu and Lhasa. The modern Sichuan-Tibet Road opened in 1954, following older exchange corridors shaped by tea, horses, salt, pilgrimage, and markets. West of Sichuan, traffic climbs from humid lowlands into deep gorges, switchbacks, forest, and high passes. It must also cross the Jinsha, Lancang, and New River systems. Trucks carry fuel, food, machinery, building material, and daily supplies beside buses, motorcycles, cyclists, tourists, and pilgrims. Rain can loosen rock, drive debris across the road, and strip away pavement. Winter adds snow and ice. Repeated freezing and thawing open fresh weakness in the slopes. A closure reveals what keeps Highway 318 working. Crews clear debris, brace cliffs, repair bridges, and reopen lanes under unstable ground. The labor never ends because the terrain rarely settles. New tunnels and bridges bypass exposed bends and high passes. Journeys become shorter and more reliable, while the old road's physical ordeal recedes. The highway does not defeat the plateau. It carries trade across it only through constant repair and respect for weather, water, altitude, and gravity. Rock once driven deep inside Earth now stands exposed as one of eastern China's sacred mountains. About 240 million years ago, continental collision forced crustal material to extreme depth and pressure. Today, Heavenly Pillar Peak rises to roughly 1,500 meters. Continental pressure transformed the buried material. Uplift and erosion later hauled some of it back to the surface. Geologists can therefore inspect rocks that traveled far into Earth's interior and returned with minerals shaped under immense pressure. Above ground, fractures gave rain, frost, roots, and gravity a route into the granite. Over time, they separated domes, split boulders, narrow clefts, and the spear-like pillar. Pines and paths occupy the ground that remains stable, while cloud fills the valleys below. Life here works around geology's terms, not against them. More than 2,000 years ago, Emperor Wu of Han recognized Tianzhu as the southern sacred mountain. The designation later shifted to Mount Heng. Temples, inscriptions, and paths preserved the older bond between imperial authority, religious practice, and this uplifted mass of stone. Continental collision raised the stone. Centuries of worship gave it meaning. Weathering ensures neither story is finished. More than 100 clear lakes survive because stone repeatedly blocks the water. Across Jiuzhaigou's branching highland valleys, glaciers carved the basins, while rock falls and calcium carbonate deposits raised natural barriers at different elevations. Mineral-rich water releases carbon dioxide as it moves. Travertine then gathers along channels and rims, slowly dividing streams into lakes, shoals, and waterfalls. The turquoise layers at Five Flower Lake are not color alone. Pale mineral beds, submerged timber, forest, depth, and shifting sunlight build the effect together. Then, in August 2017, a magnitude 7 earthquake rearranged the valley. Rockfalls and landslides altered drainage, damaged roads and visitor infrastructure, and reshaped Sparkling Lake and Nuorilang waterfall. Recovery could not mean restoring every contour. Crews had to monitor unstable slopes, rebuild access, and let water and carbonate deposits establish new paths. That distinction matters. Jiuzhaigou is not a finished display behind a fence. Its lakes depend on moving water, fragile mineral dams, and ground that can shift again. The valley also carries 9 Tibetan villages in its name. Their livelihoods continue under strict conservation and tourism rules, tying community recovery to visitor limits and ecological repair. I admire that disciplined revival. Roads reopened and communities adapted, while the altered landscape was accepted. Proof that recovery here means respecting change. A city has been squeezed until its urban grid is almost a single line. At Yanjin, the Hengjiang River, roads, railway tracks, bridges, and a few rows of buildings compete for one narrow corridor beneath steep canyon walls. Flat land is so scarce that multi-story homes rise on tall concrete columns, anchored into narrow banks and steep foundations. The columns create floor area and lift rooms above ordinary water levels. But concrete cannot cancel the canyon. Intense rain can drive floods, falling rock, landslides, and debris flows into the same confined space. That compression makes routine maintenance a regional necessity. One slope failure can interrupt local streets and the wider route through northeastern Yunnan. The striking form earned Yanjin an unofficial label as one of the world's narrowest cities. The stronger truth is not a ranking, but the endurance required to keep a linear city working. This passage is older than its rails and concrete. Yanjin's name is tied to a historic salt ferry, while nearby Dusha Pass preserves evidence of movement between Yunnan and Sichuan. Trade once followed the river because it had cut the only practical opening through the mountains. Yanjin survives by respecting that geometry, not by mastering it. Ice descends from a summit above 7,500 meters toward temperate forest and geothermal steam. Established survey baselines describe Jiuzhaigou as roughly 15 kilometers long, with its lower tongue historically mapped below 3,000 meters. Its engine is simple and relentless. Snow piles high on Mount Gonga, compresses into ice, then moves downhill under its own weight. Where the bed steepens, that slow movement tears open. Seracs and crevasses form a towering ice fall, while cracking ice and unstable debris keep the valley under constant pressure. Lower down, fallen rock darkens the tongue. That cover can alter how sunlight reaches the ice, making loss uneven and harder to read from one view alone. The stronger evidence comes from repetition. Old photographs against new ones, mapped margins, exposed moraine, and long records of thinning. Together they show a glacier pulling back, not a frozen monument holding still. I find the contrast more powerful than spectacle alone. Forest, meltwater, hot springs, and red-orange algae crowd beside ice built in the high cold. This closeness also raises the stakes. Falling seracs, shifting debris, and changing access force climbers and managers to treat every route as temporary. Jiuzhaigou proves endurance starts by respecting the limits that moving ice keeps rewriting. A lake that once sustained kingdoms is now testing the limits of a modern tourism economy. Erhai stretches about 40 kilometers beside Dali, nearly 2,000 meters above sea level, locked between Huangshan and the Dali Basin. Faults shaped the basin, but water built the settlements around it. Mountain streams fed fisheries, transport, and fertile land around Bai settlements, supporting the political centers of the Nanzhao and Dali kingdoms. The modern threat arrived through accumulation, not one dramatic event. Untreated wastewater, livestock waste, aquaculture, fertilizer, shoreline building, and rapid tourism pushed more nitrogen and phosphorus into the lake. Algal blooms exposed the consequence. A large, clear lake can shift when nutrient loads outrun the water's ability to absorb them. Removing visible debris was never enough. Sewer networks, restored wetlands, waterfront buffer zones, and tighter controls on aquaculture and fertilizer had to intercept pollution across the basin. That repair carries a human cost. Farmers, fishers, guesthouse operators, and villages along the shore face restrictions because income and contamination often occupy the same narrow strip of land. Repair must reach from Huangshan streams to fields, hotels, and urban drains. Erhai will endure only if growth respects the watershed that still supports Bai communities. Thousands of stone-rimmed pools are still being built by water, in air thin enough to slow every human step. They climb a high valley beneath Mount Suibaoding, a summit rising nearly 5,600 meters above sea level. Rain and snowmelt percolate through carbonate rock and emerge from springs across the valley floor. Calcium carbonate then settles along the flow. Layer by layer, it raises pale rims, shoals, and thousands of shallow terraces. Their turquoise, jade, gold, and pale blue tones do not come from colored stone alone. Water depth, carbonate surfaces, algae, reflected sky, and seasonal light all contribute. Much of Huanglong's main route lies above 3,000 meters. Thin air slows movement, while the short growing season restricts what can take root. The terraces are tougher than they look, yet their construction is easy to interrupt. Drought, damaged channels, trampling or shifts in snow and rainfall can reduce the flow that keeps building them. Protection therefore means controlling human movement, not merely preserving a view. The wider reserve's forest and alpine habitats, including rare wildlife, helped earn UNESCO inscription in 1992. Tibetan and Qiang faith gives restraint sacred weight. Water builds Huanglong, while people guard the flow, sustaining it. The highest ground at Yading is not treated as a prize to be conquered. 3 snow peaks rise to about 6,000 meters, each regarded in local Tibetan Buddhism as a sacred manifestation. Jiuzhaigou is linked to Avalokiteshvara, Yangmayong to Manjushri, and Jianwaduoji to Vajrapani. Faith engages them by circling and approaching sacred ground, not by claiming their summits. Routes pass Chonggu Monastery, conifer forest, meadows, Milk Lake, and Five Color Lake. Much of that ground lies between roughly 3,700 and 4,700 meters. At that height, every climb carries a physical tax. Oxygen is limited, weather turns quickly, and the final approaches remain punishing, even where shuttles, horses, boardwalks, and maintained paths reduce the load. This is what stays with me. Devotion is measured in breath and repeated steps. A monastery or lake matters not only as a destination, but as ground reached under pressure. Yet access creates another strain. Large crowds compress onto narrow trails where fragile alpine vegetation, burden waste services, and increased demands on horses and rescue crews. Designated routes, seasonal controls, and restrictions concentrate movement. They do not tame the altitude. They keep human pressure from spreading across every meadow and slope. Yading endures because pilgrims accept the mountain's terms, while managers limit the pressure passage leaves behind. Raised walkways lift crowds above the fragile soil of an inhabited highland. Most of Pudakuo lies above 3,000 meters, where cold, thin air and a short-growing season-shaped conifer forest, meadow, wetland, and the basins of Shudu and Beta lakes. Snowmelt and summer rain feed the marshes. Saturated ground stores water, slows runoff, and supports wildlife, grazing animals, and settlements beyond the park boundary. Soft ground cannot absorb unlimited foot traffic. Raised timber walkways carry crowds above wetland and fragile roots, holding erosion in check. Shuttle buses work at a larger scale. They cut private traffic, control stopping points, and allow sensitive areas to be closed when pressure rises. Yet the strongest evidence of adaptation is not new infrastructure. Yaks and prayer flags mark a landscape Tibetan villages long used for livestock, fuel, travel, and religious practice. Established in 2007 as an early national park experiment, Pudakuo tested protected zones, local jobs, and public access under one plan. The bargain remains hard. Tourism brings income and waste, while conservation can restrict grazing and movement. What strikes me is the discipline of the compromise. Putakuo endures because timber paths, traffic controls, local knowledge, and firm limits keep people on the land without pretending the land has surrendered. At China's northern edge, a permanent village keeps its furnaces alive while the border river locks into ice. Beijing village stands near 53 degrees north, where severe cold can drive temperatures toward -50 degrees Celsius. Across the frozen Amur, Russia sits in plain view, but the greater boundary is temperature. Exposed work can become dangerous within minutes. Every warm room depends on a chain that cannot break. Insulated walls, protected pipes, steady fuel, cleared roads, and heating maintained without pause. Vehicles need preparation before a low-temperature start. Schools, border posts, deliveries, and utility crews must keep moving when metal contracts, batteries weaken, and snow closes access. Summer reverses the light, not the pressure. Around the June solstice, daylight and twilight fill most of the day, while mosquitoes and seasonal forest fire risk reshape work in the taiga. The northern sky attracts visitors, but the famous aurora is an occasional event, not a nightly guarantee. The dependable spectacle is chimney smoke, proof that heat, fuel, and maintenance are holding. What strikes me is not a village defeating winter, but a community learning exactly where winter sets the limit. At Mohe, endurance is built from ordinary work repeated before the cold can exploit a single failure. An early capital rose where every sack of grain had to climb, because the same ascent narrowed every approach. Wunu Mountain stands more than 800 meters above the Han River Valley. Tradition identifies its plateau as Goguryeu's first capital, founded in 37 BCE. The builders made geology carry part of the load. Cliffs replaced long walls, while gates and steep tracks compressed movement into controlled passages. But elevation traded access for security. Water, grain, timber, animals, and people all had to reach a summit isolated by its own defenses. Cisterns and channels made occupation possible. Without stored water, the plateau would have been a lookout, not a capital. Foundations mark palaces, guard areas, stores, and working quarters. This was not a refuge, but a state organized around supply. From the plateau, guards watched the river corridor and the farmland that fed the capital. Command of height still depended on labor below. Goguryeo later moved its political center, but Wunu kept this early logic. In 2004, it joined a UNESCO World Heritage Property. I admire the calculation. Rock reduced the walls, waterwork sustained the plateau, and storage absorbed delay. Wunu lasted because its builders respected the mountain's limits before claiming its protection. Damage, upheaval, and rebuilding have repeatedly changed a temple older than imperial Beijing. Traditional records place Tanji Temple's foundation in 307 CE, more than 17 centuries ago. Damage, political upheaval, and repeated rebuilding left most visible holes from later dynasties. Its endurance did not come from preserving one design unchanged. Communities restored halls, rooms, paths, memorial grounds, and the daily worship that gave them purpose. 3 main axes climb the wooded slope through gates and courtyards. The mountain fixes the gradient. The buildings adjust to it. Yellow glazed roofs mark imperial patronage, but the temple relies on older anchors, springs, mature cypresses, and paths fitted to the hillside. At the Liu Bei Pavilion, a winding stone channel carried floating cups during poetry gatherings. Even leisure here depended on controlling a small flow of mountain water. The emperor tree, a celebrated ginkgo, carries age without pretending that nothing changed. Timber and tile were replaced. The living setting remained central. Nearby, about 70 memorial pagodas record generations of senior monks through changing masonry and form. Together, they prove that leadership continued even when individual halls did not. At Tanjie, continuity is visible in replacement. Renewed timber beneath old trees, restored paths carrying worship uphill again. Visitors reach Beijing's silver performance halls by descending through a passage beneath an artificial lake. Much of the complex waits underground. Opened in 2007, Beijing's National Center for the Performing Arts wears more than 18,000 titanium panels, yet its visible roof rises only about 46 meters. The lake completes the oval behind its nickname, the egg. Beside Beijing's symbolic civic architecture, the low shell makes a deliberate break. Much of the complex was buried to limit its effect on the skyline without shrinking the interior. Its greatest volume stays out of sight. Arrival begins with descent, not a grand staircase. A passage crosses beneath the lake, with water visible through sections of transparent ceiling. That controlled spectacle rests on harder work: excavation, waterproofing, crowd movement, and sound isolation, all pressed into one underground structure. Opera, concerts, drama, and traditional performance each need distinct acoustics, stages, backstage routes, and loading access. Underground, the halls must share circulation and services without sharing noise. I admire the restraint inside the gamble. The building stays low while its hardest engineering drives downward. Beijing gained a bold landmark by accepting both water and ground. More than 100 million years after eruptions laid down Lingfeng's rock, builders fitted a Buddhist temple into one of its cracks. Repeated eruptions buried this ground under lava, ash, and other volcanic material. Collapse, faulting, and uplift then opened weaknesses that streams and weather could steadily widen. The result is not one clean mountain ridge. It is a broken mass of amphitheater valleys, layered cliffs, caves, and pinnacles left standing where harder rock resisted removal. Those formations change identity as paths shift and overlapping profiles separate. At night in Lingfeng, moonlight and shadow give the same rock new silhouettes. Dalongqiu waterfall shows who still sets the terms. After rain, it drives over the high cliff. In drier weather, the flow narrows and wind can push it sideways. Bamboo and inhabited paths soften the terrain, without concealing its volcanic frame. Daily movement still follows openings cut by geology and enlarged by time. Guanyin Cave's builders did not flatten that frame. They fitted a multi-level temple into the tall cleft, raising timber and roofs against walls that could not move. That restraint is the greater feat. People read Yandang's fractures, use the shelter already there, and let an ancient volcanic boundary dictate how faith could be built. Granite rises in isolated towers, yet pines survive in cracks that can barely hold soil. Lotus Peak reaches nearly 1,900 meters, while cloud often buries the lower valleys and leaves exposed summits above it. Water, temperature shifts, weathering, and erosion widened fractures in the massif until solid ridges split into ravines, pinnacles, and solitary peaks. Moist air from eastern China rises against this relief, cools, and condenses. That is why lower ground can vanish while higher rock remains clear. The pines use tiny fissures where soil and water collect. Bent trunks and uneven crowns record slow growth under wind, ice, and snow. Workers cut and repaired stone stairs along ledges, then carried supplies up slopes where almost every kilogram once moved by foot. Cableways now take part of that load, but access still depends on paths, anchors, drainage, and constant repair. These repeated forms, granite towers, old pines, hot springs, snow, and cloud, filled Chinese poems and defined the Huangshan school of landscape painting. A commonly cited claim associates Huangshan with more than 20,000 poems, though that figure is a broad cultural tally. UNESCO inscribed the mountain in 1990. I admire what the roots and stairs prove together. Neither defeats the granite. Both endure by using the narrow margins the mountain allows. Erosion has left a limestone pillar only a few meters wide, rising about 150 meters above ground, hollowed from within. The surrounding canyon runs roughly 35 kilometers through western Hubei. Rain absorbs carbon dioxide from air and soil, turns weakly acidic, and enters fractures in the limestone. Over time, fractures widen into caves, sinkholes, underground channels, and natural bridges. Surface rivers also cut downward, leaving cliffs and isolated remnants above the valleys. One stick of incense shows how uneven that removal can be. The slender pillar remains only because the limestone around it wore away faster. Level ground is scarce. Long stairways, cliff paths, bridges, and repeated climbs expose the practical cost of crossing terrain where each route must negotiate rock and height. Yet Tujia and Miao communities have long occupied the region. Houses, fields, roads, and water access settle on valley floors and gentler slopes where the ground allows them. Water creates another paradox. It is abundant, but much of it disappears underground. Settlement depends on knowing where springs and surface channels return reliably enough for homes and fields. That adaptation is the real achievement. People learned where stone could carry a house, where water would return, and where roads, fields, and community could endure without flattening Enshi. silver fog below this reservoir depends on a power station, not untouched nature. Dongjiang Lake covers roughly 160 square kilometers behind a double curvature arch dam. The mist forms most reliably along the Xiaodongjiang Reach below the reservoir. Water drawn from depth stays cold, then meets warm, humid air around dawn. Moisture condenses over the channel, hiding boats and banks until sunlight, wind, and warmer air break it apart. The spectacle depends on exact conditions, not every morning. Casting nets give the mist a human scale. Some scenes serve fishing, others are organized for photography and tourism, turning the engineered river into another source of work. Beneath the calm is a working water machine. The dam stores water, generates hydroelectricity, helps regulate floods, and supports downstream supply. Each release balances rainfall, reservoir level, power demand, and downstream safety. Turbines hold a controlled flow, but major spillway releases can quickly fill the gorge with white water and spray. The cold outflow that lays silver fog across Xiaodongjiang is also stored force, held behind a curved wall and managed hour by hour. Dongjiang's peace is active work. It depends on operators reading water and weather, because the dam making the morning veil can remake the river within minutes. A river can vanish beneath Libo and return downstream as a blue-green pool. Beneath the forest, weakly acidic rainwater enlarges limestone passages, carrying streams through caves before they reappear as springs and waterfalls. This is part of the UNESCO-listed South China Karst, but Libo breaks the usual image of bare stone. Dense subtropical forest covers closely packed cones. The trees stand on thin soil, roots push into fissures where moisture and organic matter collect, an adaptation that leaves the forest exposed when the ground is disturbed. Watercolor has no single source. Clarity, depth, sunlight, pale carbonate beds, and reflected vegetation combine to produce it. Along Xiaoqikong, cascades coat channels with tufa, and moisture keeps paths and stonework under moss. Moving through this valley requires roots that accept water rather than ignore it. The seven-arched bridge proves the point. Built in the Qing era, it carried a practical local route across the river long before it became Libo's emblem. Beyond the protected corridor, Buyi, Shui, Miao, and other communities have kept fields, paths, settlements, and sacred places within this terrain. Conservation and tourism arrived over a landscape already worked and understood. Libo endures by fitting human passage to water and rock, never claiming control. The village climbs because the valley floor is too valuable to occupy. Shijiang is widely promoted as a 1,000-household village, packed across steep slopes so flatter ground can remain under rice. That arrangement rests on hard carpentry. Traditional stilt houses use posts, timber frames, and fitted joints to level living floors without cutting deeply into unstable, wet ground. Storage and livestock can occupy lower levels. Families stay above the damp. Every part answers the slope. But the engineering carries its own exposure. Dense timber, modern wiring, busy kitchens, and rising visitor numbers make inspections and constant repair essential. Tourism now supports guest houses, restaurants, performances, craft markets, and local jobs. It also brings congestion, waste, and pressure to build more into the hillside. Tourism can force complex traditions into fixed shows. Embroidery, batik, silverwork, clothing, songs, and reed pipe music carry family labor and Miao knowledge. They are not props for a timetable. After dusk, the electric lights do not mark an exhibit that has closed. They mark homes still cooking, working, storing, repairing, and adapting. That holds my attention. This settlement survives by balancing farm ground, timber skill, income, and daily caution. Xizang's strength lies in keeping wooden homes and Miao knowledge useful under pressure, not in holding them still for a photograph. Restoring Songzhanlin meant more than rebuilding every wall. Daily religious life had to return as well. Founded in 1679 under the 5th Dalai Lama, Songzhanlin became Yunnan's leading gelug institution. After severe damage during the Cultural Revolution, rebuilding began in the 1980s. The hillside complex above Shangri-La needed beams, masonry, courtyards, residences, and gilded roofs. But construction alone could not restore study, ritual, or monastic discipline. Scriptures had to return. So did teaching lineages, ritual knowledge, and the strict daily rhythm that turns architecture into a monastery. Monks memorize texts, study Buddhist philosophy, debate in courtyards, chant in assembly, prepare offerings, and maintain lamps. These repeated duties make Songzhanlin a school, residence, archive, and service center for local households. Highland weather keeps testing every beam and wall. Cold, wind, aging timber, fire risk, and crowds of pilgrims and tourists demand inspection, repair, and firm control of working space. That pressure creates a practical contradiction. The monastery must remain accessible enough to serve a community, yet protected enough to preserve quiet, old materials and daily religious work. I measure its recovery not by bright roofs, but by the work repeated inside them. Every lesson, debate, chant, and repaired beam keeps an institution founded more than 3 centuries ago active under highland pressure. Luoping turns yellow only because the crop is moving toward harvest. Rapeseed blooms from late winter into spring, then forms pods that farmers cut for edible oil and related products. The famous color is one brief stage in a year of fieldwork. Families prepare soil, time sowing around rain and temperature, manage pests, and harvest before mature pods shed too much seed. Around Jinji, usable fields run between green karst cones. At Luositian, cultivation follows a natural bowl in concentric plots, fitting each workable strip to irregular ground. Beehives add seasonal income. Beekeepers place rows close to the bloom, where bees gather nectar for strongly seasonal honey and help pollinate the crop. Tourism adds transport, food stalls, lodging, viewing platforms, and honey sales. But the short visitor season cannot remove the deeper risks: weather, seed yield, oil prices, labor, and bee health. Yi, Bouye, and other communities maintain this working landscape near the meeting point of Yunnan, Guizhou, and Guangxi. Their calendar connects farming, trade, and seasonal income across 3 provincial borders. When the yellow fades, the real cycle continues. Cut the crop, move the hives, prepare the soil, and gamble again on rain, yield, prices, and bee health. Yubeng's guest houses stand where each sack of grain once crossed a high pass on foot or pack animal. At nearly 3,000 meters beneath the Meili Massif, transport set the price of food, fuel, roofing, and time. Traditional homes combine timber and stone against cold winters. Around them, livestock and barley compete for the valley's scarce flat ground. Isolation carried a practical cost. Illness, broken supplies, or seasonal weather could turn one difficult crossing into a long delay. Improved tracks and regulated local vehicles now shorten part of the approach. Yet steep trails and seasonal conditions still decide when people and goods can move. Routes toward Shenpu Sacred Waterfall, Ice Lake, forest, moraine, and glacial ground now carry both pilgrims and hikers. Sacred geography has also become an economy. Guest houses, restaurants, guides, horse transport, and vehicle services bring cash into the village. They also raise construction, waste, water demand, food imports, and dependence on a short visitor season. That is the bargain behind easier access. Fewer punishing supply journeys, but a deeper reliance on roads, fuel, and arrivals from outside. Yubeng is not frozen beneath Meili, nor has it mastered the mountain. It adapts by changing jobs, roads, and roofs within limits the mountain still enforces. No verified climber has stood on Kawagarbo's nearly 6,800-meter summit. Danger and sacred belief impose a firm limit. Kawagarbo rises above the upper Mekong Valley. No verified ascent has reached the top, and climbing has been locally banned since 2001. Moist monsoon air strikes exceptionally steep slopes. Heavy snow, abrupt weather shifts, cornices, unstable slabs, and avalanche-prone faces can close a climbing route within hours. In January 1991, an avalanche overwhelmed a Chinese-Japanese expedition, and 17 members were lost. That loss showed how little control climbers held, but danger was only part of the argument. For local Tibetan communities, Kawagarbo is sacred, not a target to be claimed. Religious opposition, repeated risk, and public debate helped bring the 2001 ban. Pilgrims answer the mountain differently. They walk inner or outer circuits across high passes, linking monasteries, villages, and sacred waterfalls through sustained effort around the massif. The ground is changing even without climbers. Glaciers, including Mingyong, have visibly thinned and retreated, altering access, meltwater, hazards, tourism, and the physical setting of pilgrimage. Kawagarbo's unclimbed summit turns restraint into the achievement. Pilgrims circle, communities watch the glaciers change, and the final ridge remains a boundary. A valley that looks sealed by stone has supported a complete seasonal economy for generations. 4 Tibetan villages occupy different levels beneath the limestone walls, linked by fields, pastures, paths, and religious sites. These cliffs were not built in one event. Tectonic uplift raised the limestone. Streams, frost, weathering, and unstable slopes then cut ravines and exposed nearly vertical faces. The walls seize attention, but useful ground explains survival. Families reserve scarce arable soil for highland barley, potatoes, and other cold-tolerant crops. Yaks and other livestock move between seasonal pastures, turning steep land and short summers into food and income. This is adaptation by timing, roots, and repeated labor. Dongwa, Yeri, Dari, and Daiba are not settlements placed after the landscape was discovered. Their houses and long-established tracts mark Jagana as an inhabited Amdo cultural landscape. Improved roads and online visibility now bring guest houses, restaurants, traffic, and new construction. The same growth creates jobs and markets while increasing waste, water demand, land prices, and pressure on pasture. Every new building must enter ground already claimed by crops, homes, grazing, or access. I admire the harder achievement here, not defeating the cliffs, but keeping a community working within the narrow terms they impose. This calm mountain lake exists because unstable slopes sent enough rock and debris into a valley to dam its water. Ranwu lies beside Highway 318 at nearly 3,900 meters, with the wider lake system covering about 27 square kilometers. The exact sequence remains uncertain. One major collapse or repeated debris flows may have closed the basin. Glaciers, snowmelt, rain, and mountain streams keep filling it. They also carry sediment, shifting the water between blue, turquoise, and gray as seasons and runoff change. The outflow joins the Parlung Changpo system. Water does not stop at the basin. Water and sediment continue downstream, tying this high basin to a larger river corridor. Near the shore, villages, cultivation, forest patches, and grazing press onto the limited, gentler ground. At this altitude, usable land is narrow, and every stable strip carries work. The same geology that formed Ranwu still controls the road beside it. Monsoon rain can destabilize slopes, send rock and debris toward Highway 318, and interrupt movement through the valley. Snow peaks may sit perfectly on the surface, but that calm depends on changing inflow, sediment, and slopes. Ranwu's beauty exists because unstable ground built the basin and still controls its edges. A desert cliff became an archive too vast, fragile, and contested for one age to contain. From a first excavation traditionally dated to 366, Mogao grew over roughly 1,000 years into nearly 500 decorated caves, holding around 45,000 square meters of murals and more than 2,000 painted clay sculptures. The location carried leverage. Near the Dunhuang Oasis, routes converged before crossing the Hexi Corridor, deserts, and Central Asia. Monks, officials, families, merchants, and travelers financed the sanctuaries. The walls preserved more than devotion. Donors, buildings, clothing, instruments, dances, landscapes, and Buddhist narratives reveal exchange among China, India, Central Asia, and Tibet. In 1900, caretaker Wang Yuanlu opened the sealed library cave. Tens of thousands of manuscripts and paintings in several languages emerged from one confined chamber. Many were later acquired by foreign expeditions, especially those linked to Aurel Stein and Paul Pelliot. Their dispersal still drives disputes over removal, ownership, and custody. Preservation now fights sand, salt, humidity, light, carbon dioxide, and visitor traffic. Restricted access, environmental monitoring, digital records, and replicas limit exposure. Mogao endures because access now accepts physical limits. 1,000 years of creation demands constant control, while the scattered library cave texts keep a larger argument over cultural power unresolved. Red sandstone formed over immense time now rises above water, created within living memory. At Kanbula, ancient Danxia towers and ravines stand beside the broad blue-green Lijiaxia reservoir built through late 20th century dam construction. The contrast begins in rock. Thick sandstone beds were uplifted and fractured. Runoff, wind, freezing, weathering, and gravity-carved towers, mesas, and isolated walls. Iron-bearing minerals give them their red color. Below, engineering changed the Yellow River's physical reach. Lijiaxia Dam widened this section into a reservoir for hydropower and regional water management. That decision redrew shorelines, altered boat movement, and shifted access routes through the former valley. The terrain remained. Daily movement had to adjust around a new water line. Kanbula's ravines also hold Tibetan Buddhist temples, hermitages, and meditation caves. Isolation became practical religious space, sheltered among rock and forest. Across the wider river corridor, Tibetan, Salar, Hui, and Han communities share water through farms, villages, trade, pilgrimage, roads, boats, and dam infrastructure. The strongest scale lies in that overlap. Ancient erosion, sacred retreat, and modern power share the same confined corridor. The reservoir changed the Yellow River's reach, then forced farms, boats, roads, and sacred sites to renegotiate the corridor around a new shoreline. At sunset, one river can appear to reflect several suns at once. The effect forms above 2,000 meters in Bayan Bulak, where the Kaidu River slows across a broad Tianshan basin and coils through the 9 bends. The alignment is brief. Season, cloud, water level, river angle, and viewpoint must coincide before the light breaks across separate bends. Snowmelt and springs feed the Kaidu. On the flat basin floor, the current slows, spreading into marshes and wet meadows on its way to Boston Lake. Bayan Bulak means rich spring in Mongolian, and the name fits. Yet this water enters a closed inland drainage, not an endless supply. The wet ground feeds livestock and gives swans and other water birds space to breed and feed. That overlap works only when grazing has limits. Mongol pastoral life here includes Torgut communities linked to the 18th century return from the Volga region. Movement still follows pasture, forage, wet ground, and severe winter. Conservation rules protect vulnerable meadows, but narrow where and when herds can move. Adaptation begins by reading the basin before using it. At dusk, The shared limit becomes visible. Enough water for the bends to shine, enough marsh for swans, and enough forage for herds to keep moving. A river in China's far northwest runs toward the Arctic, while tourism rapidly reorganizes the village beside it. Hemu stands in an Altai valley, where its river joins the Kanas-Burkin drainage, then the Irtysh and the vast Ob basin. Here, chimney smoke is not decoration. It means heat and cooking through cold mornings, inside compact log houses whose steep roofs shed deep snow. Birch and larch provide the building material. Stacked logs, tight forms, and inherited carpentry turn local timber into shelter without pretending winter can be controlled. Tuvan and Kazakh households still keep horses, cattle, and sheep, moving with seasonal pasture while carrying language, music, and practical knowledge from one generation to the next. The road has widened the choices: guest houses, restaurants, riding services, transport, construction, and larger markets for food and performance. Income no longer depends on herding alone. But a short scenic season can now decide a household's earnings. Labor shifts away from livestock, land prices rise, waste grows, and imitation cabins replace construction knowledge with a marketable outline. What I respect in Hemu is not hardship preserved for display. It is the discipline to keep roofs sound, herds moving, and music alive while the economy changes. For more than 2,000 years, Kashgar has endured by preparing caravans for the next mountain or desert. At an oasis on the Tarim Basin's western edge, routes split toward the Pamirs, Central Asia, the Karakoram, and eastern China. Water, farmland, and markets made this the place to stop. Caravans rested animals, exchanged cargo, repaired equipment, and regrouped before the next barrier. Around Idka Square, that function remains physical. Uyghur bakers work non-ovens, coppersmiths hammer vessels, woodworkers carve doors, and merchants handle textiles, fruit, and spices. Instrument makers shape rawap and dutar bodies. These skills carry sound and income through streets now shaped as much by redevelopment as inheritance. Since around 2009, large sections of the old town have been removed, reinforced, or rebuilt to address earthquake and fire risk, poor sanitation, and unsafe structures. Modern utilities and wider access improved some living conditions. Standardized rebuilding also erased original fabric and changed the link between homes, workshops, alleys, and trade. The result is neither wholly ancient nor empty. Trade, food, worship, craft, and family life continue inside a heavily remade frame. The old caravan logic survives through Uyghur work and worship, baking, hammering, carving, trading, repairing what can fail, and preparing for the next barrier. I leave this story with a deeper respect for resilience. It is not a clean victory over cold, altitude, water, or unstable rock. It is repeated maintenance, clearing a pass, reinforcing a bank, carrying fuel, protecting a lake, rebuilding a roof, and knowing when a mountain must remain untouched. China's great works matter because they connect immense distances. But every tunnel, dam, road, and settlement also inherits the pressure of the ground beneath it. As a warming climate brings stronger floods, deeper thaw, longer drought, and retreating glaciers, old knowledge and modern engineering will face harsher tests. The next era will not be defined by who claims to have conquered nature. It will belong to societies that build boldly, repair constantly, and accept limits before roads, farms, and towns pay the price. Continue with this series as it examines the frontiers where human ambition meets physical limits, and where resilience means not conquest, but the discipline to adapt and endure.